Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Paige Show. Today's episode is Take Back Your Ring. And I am talking about you visualizing a boxing ring, and we're going to bring in so much symbolism of that. And so for me, boxing and martial arts has been really huge in my life. It's really saved my life in many stages, but specifically boxing, that's what started me down the path of martial arts as a whole. And I don't know why I was attracted to boxing, but there's just something about my hands. I am a healer by nature, so there's a lot of energy in my hands, and I felt like at this time in my life where I discovered boxing, I needed a lot of personal outlets and healing of within, for sure. And it was a way that I was able to output the energy that naturally flows through our hands, not just mine, but all of our hands. If you think about how we use our hands and how we would function if we didn't have them, okay? So physically and spiritually, our hands are very symbolic of life force. When you do energy work or energy healing, we are bringing energy in through our hands and we're pushing it out through our hands. We're receiving from the sky if we lift our left hand upwards, and we're giving back into the earth if we put our right hand down. There's a lot of shaman, metaphysical, spiritual healing modalities that talk about your hands. And so it's not ironic looking back that before I was really propelled on this journey that brought me into my own, the person you're hearing speak today, that I needed to find my power in my hands, and that came through a physical outlet of boxing. And so I got really great with boxing with a coach that I had, a personal coach, and I did private sessions and I went to classes and gyms and all of that. But when it was just me, like on a bag or with my boxing coach, it was just beautiful. It was such a flow, and it was doing what it served as far as its purpose. I was outputting all this energy and I was receiving back. I was really getting a lot back. It was when I would leave the gym, it felt like I had left it all there on the bag or on the mitts. It was gone. And it wasn't until I started to want to spar other people, or I wouldn't even say I wanted to, or that I got into an actual ring the first time, that it just felt like something had shifted for me. Like this person who people from the outside see is a fighter at heart. When I would get in the ring, it was like I would almost lose the motivation against the opponent, or what would be an opponent. Even if I was just in there, having a practice session, a mitt session. And the energy of that only just came to me later through the years of what that was really about. And it was really that I was just coming into my power. I was just discovering physically what I needed as far as an energy output. I had no clue at the time how it was spiritually helping me release as well. And then all of that really needed to come back together for me to be able to take my ring back. And so if you can see the visual of that, that's what I'm wanting to share for everyone that's listening today, is that we all come to a place where we have to take our ring back. We identify areas of our life that we're not comfortable in, things that aren't working anymore. For instance of my story, why could I be so good on the mitts, with a one-on-one coach and really be in the flow and just lose it and leave it all there, but I would step into the ring and it would just feel like everything would go south and I lost my ability to just react, and I started overthinking and all of those things. And I think it comes down to the validation topic, that we really don't do much anymore unless there's validation attached, even if we're not meaning for that to be the case. You go to a job expecting a paycheck, that's a form of validation, and granted it should be, but I'm just saying it's in every area. That's an example of how it's there. You tell someone you love them and you expect to have them say that they love you back. It's a form of validation. All of the things that we do every day, if you can look from a validation stance, you could see how validation would apply. If you're not happy in something right now, or if you're really happy in something right now, there's validation somewhere. You're either getting validated or you're not, and that's the emotion attached to it. And so it's the same thing when we talk about taking back your ring. When I got into the ring, things felt different because the issue of validation came into play. When it was just me on a bag, or it was me with a coach that I trusted and was, holding mitts for me, and there was no judgment there. It was, it was guidance. Kind of in other episodes, I talked about that in spiritual growth syndrome, guidance versus holding space for someone to learn and grow on their own. That was the difference. When you got in a ring, validation came in play. Other people were watching. There was judgments put on you. You were kind of in the spotlight, right? And at the time, depending on where you are in your life, we're not always ready to be in the ring. We're not as prepared as we think we are to be in the ring. And then there's some of us that are living in the ring, and we are facing the critics every day, okay? This podcast is a great example of that. I have found my way back to the ring. It's a little bit different symbolism than when I was in the boxing ring, but the ring nonetheless, where you are faced with critics, and there's always a critic. There has always been, there will always be. They help us with growth. They help us push through fear factors. But at this point in history, we have a lot more access to the critics, to the ability to have validation come in a not so good way. And so we shy away from things. We tend to doubt ourselves more. We shy away from words or messages that we get, or careers or life choices. For sure, life choices are huge. People are not feeling safe to be open. And the ones that are being truly open are really faced daily with a fear of being validated or criticized, or worse, they are turning all of that into anger, and they are feeling invalidated in moments when they really shouldn't. We're taking things personal that isn't always personal. Everything feels personal if you're living in an attack mode, all right? And so that's what happens if you're in the ring and you are feeling unprepared and you are aware that there are critics all around. We tend to go into attack mode. But what happens with that, and the equation of that to boxing, is you start to overthink and you forget to just feel what punch you're supposed to throw next, or what block you should have, or where your feet should be moving. You forget your footwork. All you artists out there, your martial art boxing lovers, all of you know what I'm talking about. You can hear the flow in my words. The flow of my words even stopped when I started to speak about it. I couldn't get them out as much because it's not a natural flow when you're living under that fear, for lack of a better word, of validation or criticism. And so you tend to just go into attack mode, and you lose sight of all of your actual natural abilities or tools. And in the end, it's often the case that you didn't attack it as well as you could have if you had been ready to be in the ring, or ready to be okay with that validation or lack of. So what we really need is our power back. We have to be able to be in our power and be able to speak it and know it, and feel led, by being connected, that it's likely you'll get criticized, but there's also a possibility that you'll get validated. And we start thinking from a different place on that. That if we know there's a possibility to get criticized, there's also a possibility to get validated. And why are you in the ring? Why are you really there? What's your intention of being there? And if you have a grasp on that, then you can be in the ring no matter what, if you know why you're in there. Okay, back in the day, I didn't have a reason to be in the ring. I didn't have a reason to, or an intention of knowing why I was there. And what that taught me is the spiritual symbolism, the fighter in me from many, many lives before, and how that really shaped me into really being able to be that person now from a true internal level, not just an outward, I can throw a great punch, right? And so getting your power back is understanding who you are, not in just the physical, but in the spiritual. And when you live in the power, you can be in any ring. You can handle it. You can take your ring back. And taking it back is being able to speak and do when called upon, right? Being able to follow whatever you're being led to do. And knowing that there can be fear associated with it because it's probably something out of the norm. It's something that you haven't been used to doing. If you feel a little fearful of it and you push through that, and then you gain this great power as a reward, and you get tapped into that divineness that's in you, and you are living in it, and so it becomes your truth, and there's power with that. You also have to understand, and this was something I needed to learn, I still need to learn, that validation can often be silent. Okay, and so you have to get into the act of doing and feeling and living in your power with the understanding that, you are validated at some point, and you just maybe aren't seeing it. It's a silent validation, and an example of that is spirit. Spirit can validate you and honor you for being in your power, but it's not something that you can feel tangible sometimes. I would say most of the time. When I'm clocked in a meditation or a session and I'm sitting in the power to be able to pull a message through, then yeah, I feel validation from spirit because I'm sitting in the power where that exists, all right? But we are living a human experience. You can't live in that mode. That's why I say clock in and clock out is a really good symbolism or imagery for people to follow. We have to be clocked out in a sense when we are engaged with our physical world. We can't be flying away or, off in la la land. We have to live this human experience. And so validation being silent as an example from spirit. When you live in your power and you do something that they've set in motion for you, they are validating you, and you'll see that validation come in ways of manifestation or things being set in motion that you would not have been able to do on your own, or just simply seeing how your story unfolds and your destination comes to reality of things, and they will help facilitate it. You'll have momentum to help you keep going. It really, really is one of the best forms of validation that can only be felt, but not necessarily heard or seen, if that makes sense. And so with taking back your power and taking back your ring, and this beautiful example of boxing in my life and that leading to this spiritual peace for me, it gives you a momentum. It aligns you with the momentum of spirit and the divine energy that's in you and waiting for you to just flow in as well. And so in doing that really aligns your whole life. It can get you in alignment with your friendships and your soul tribe that's waiting to be your support and the relationships that you need in your life. And in a way, we need to be selfish with this. We have to be selfish with taking back our ring because we lose our power daily. We give it away to this person, to this boss, to our children, to parents that may need us, or, anything. The list could go on, but we're constantly giving away our power. And I talk about throughout the Paige show and like self-care tips of why we want to cleanse ourselves in the morning and night and to kind of get rid of the energies that's been on us all day. But that's really what it's about, is that, the energy we give out that attaches to us when somebody engages with us, that is power. Energy is power. And so we have to be able to take that back. We have to take it back at the end of the day, and we have to be ready to be, charged for the next day. If you don't charge your phone overnight, it's not charged the next morning. You start your whole day in a hot mess, because if you're like me, your whole life can be on this little mobile thing that's a computer that they call a phone. Like literally can do everything from my phone for the most part. So we have to always be able to be aware of taking back our power so we can be prepared to take back our ring, that when we get in the ring, we don't care about the critics, we don't care about the validation, whether it's there or not there, because we're in our ring, we're in our power, we're in our flow. And whatever happens in our ring, it's ours. And we are a part of it because we are partaking in it. And that's what it's all about. It doesn't have to be that you win every time and that it's beautiful all the time. It just has to be that you're partaking in it. That's your power. But I will tell you, when you're living in your power, all of the other things that we want for ourselves that are beautiful, that does bring in the joy and the inspiration and the love of life, the love of your story, that comes from a place of power. So I encourage you today to think about where your power has been given away, any symbolism in my story that I shared today that could help with your story. And think about how you can take back your power. How can you start taking back those pieces of you that are feeling like they're gone? Some of us feel like they're gone forever. It's like, that's been gone for so long, I have no idea how to get it back. But you really do. You just have to tap into what's already there. And as you tap into little things, the ones that you can be aware of to start on, that leads you into more power for the next and the next. And so let's take back our power. Let's take back our ring so that we're all fighting this together in our best way possible, and that we're in the flow of the fight. And so it's natural, and we're helping each other, and we're ebbing and flowing. We're bobbing and weaving, all of those great symbolisms today, because that is what we are here to do.